Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Keay Ford Sens Nation podcast. It is brought to you by the aforementioned Keay Ford, along with Midas Ottawa and Harding, your home comfort center. Some interesting things this week. Let's start this, because this was one that happened on Wednesday. I had a great sit down with young Carter Yakemchuk for about 30, 40 minutes, a one-on-one for an article in Faces magazine that's coming out on September 1st. And yeah, he's already back in town. That's kind of interesting already. He's working out hard. The big thing we've always talked about with Carter Yakemchuk, there's a lot to like about the player. He's got to work on, the defensive elements a little more. He's a very offensively minded defenseman, as we saw with 30 goals in going into his draft year in the Western Hockey League. But the big thing, Gregg, is that he's got to get his skating improving, and he's working a lot with Shelley Kettles in that area. And I got to think, though, that, and he talked about it, he's very excited about the opportunity and hopes to win an NHL job this fall. I think until I actually sat down this summer to look at the roster, the absence of Nick Jensen, just in a numbers game, I really don't see here in his third training camp any scenario where he's not on this NHL club to start the year.
Yeah, I guess if they're going to carry 7, then he is for sure there. The question becomes, do you want Carter Yakemchuk in a 6-7 hole, not playing as much as if he were in a 1 through 5 slot? So I think that's going to be the question for training camp and to test his abilities and see if he has improved and stepped up enough that he can be an everyday play every night NHLer, or the odd one off here and there, as opposed to being stuck in that 6-7 role where you're in, you're out, you're in, you're out. If it's that kind of a scenario, I think the Senators would probably prefer that he be in the American Hockey League. So he's got some pressure on him in training camp if he wants to get a spot, stick, and stay, I think.
You think he's going to be something other than the number 6 right shot defenseman on this team? You think he can be higher than that?
I don't know. Like, it all depends on how he performs, right? Because you've still got Matt and Paolo and Tyler Clement, and you've still got if he doesn't play well, are they more comfortable playing a left shot on the right side, or are they more comfortable putting him in there automatically? Like, that's the question, right? It just depends on how he performs. I don't think it's a lock. Let's just put it that way. I don't think it's a lock that he's the third pairing right D. I don't think is a lock. I'd love to see him be the second pairing right D, but I as of right now, today, in the system with this team in the organization, yeah, he's probably the third best right shot D. But is he better than one of the 2 left shots who could play the right side? I guess that's what's going to come down to in my mind.
Yeah, certainly a good audition. He was very excited about that. Particularly that game in Detroit last year with a goal and an assist. That's a hell of a debut in the midst of what was a really important hockey game to come in and not just, hang, but to be, on the power play and, chipping in offensively in such a huge game. Like, that was a game the Sens had to have. That was when the Red Wings may have been slightly ahead of the Sens at that stage or close to them. Man, did they leave them in the rearview mirror, though, after that. But he liked that. Other tidbits from my conversation with Yakemchuk, one would be that he is in town, he is working out, skating again with Shelley Kettles, but staying with Ridley Gregg. And I got to thinking to myself, man, what a chatty household that must be. Just chatterbox. You couldn't get a word in edgewise, but Ridley Gregg has really taken Yakemchuk under his wing. And, there's 2 sort of similar personalities and, a couple of Western Hockey League boys. And so I guess when you think about that, probably a natural. And it's nice to see some leadership from young Ridley Gregg, who's still not exactly a veteran yet himself.
Wow. I don't know that I'm taking that as a leadership mentor-mentee type mentor-protege role. I'm taking that more as, hey, you're pretty cool. Hey, I think you're pretty cool. We can hang. Hey, yeah, okay, I can hang out with you. We can play games together. Okay, let's move it. I see that more as 2 guys in the same sort of age bracket from out west who are buddies and are living together. I don't know that I see that as a mentor-protege, but who knows? Maybe it is.
Well, that's how you described it, and it's he's 4 years older too, so he's not a veteran, but he's quite a bit older than Yakemchuk. But I like to see it still. It's Gregg could stick to himself and say let the kids fend for themselves. It's weird. Again, you're 24, calling other guys kids. That's weird. But a couple other things I learned about Carter Yakemchuk. I learned that his family is in the Burger King business. That's how they amassed their. I don't know if it's a fortune or not, but probably doing pretty well. They have not one, not two, but opening up a third Burger King out in Alberta. That is how the Yakemchuks funded young Carter Yakemchuk's hockey career. And if he has it his way, he'll be starting in the NHL this fall.
Good chicken sandwich there. That's far superior to a McChicken. Yeah. I love the basic chicken sandwich at Burger King. Top shelf. It
would be, I agree with you, but it'd be interesting to take the chicken out and just wring it like that, like a sponge, and see how much comes out of it. Because that's a lot of calories. We'll just leave it at that. So that was my sit down with Carter Yakemchuk, and that one-on-one will be in Faces magazine. I believe it's the cover of the magazine. So look for that on newsstands everywhere. Also, snippets of Staios in the discussion today. So I don't know if you're familiar, ladies and gentlemen, with Breakaway, but that's the sort of the mini documentaries that the Sens digital team puts together and puts on their YouTube channel. And it's getting better and better and better. And they just started a new season this week, season number 7, I think, episode 1. Another feel that my summer hockey, Gord Wilson hockey, came to an end last night. And now we've got Breakaway coming out. Feels like the hockey season's will be upon us before we know it. Yeah. But this Breakaway was interesting because they mic'd up Steve Staios at the draft table at the 2026 NHL draft in late June. And he had some interesting things to say that they actually put out there to the world. And I wonder, say, for example, how the Pittsburgh Penguins and Vancouver Canucks feel about their trades being made so public by the Sens digital team. I don't know if it matters that much because in the Pittsburgh Penguins case, apparently, according to Staios on the fly, being recorded with the mic'd up process, he said that their first pick, the 25th overall selection, the Pittsburgh Penguins offered up a roster player, and the Vancouver Canucks offered a swap of picks. They offered the Sens a chance to move back in the draft from 25 to 33, and in return, they would get the 41st pick from Vancouver for Ottawa's 72nd pick. So some really interesting nuggets in there. It's always kind of neat to be, we always say, I would love to be a fly on the wall at the NHL draft day war room, but that's effectively what fans got a chance to do. So I highly recommend people check that out, Breakaway, at the Sens YouTube channel.
And the interesting thing to me was that their first pick, refresh my memory, what number was it?
Ottawa's first pick was 25.
25. So that was the first pick. Sorry. That was the pick where they were discussing the two players, right? Mm-hmm. Do we take Cover or do we take KLM?
JLH.
Even though I think, that's him. That to me is the interesting one. They couldn't seem to determine which guy they were even interested in at that point. And then even more interesting was when it got to 32, later on in the show, they're discussing 32, and suddenly it's down to 3 names. Like at 32, it's, well, we got these 3 guys to think about. Well, wait a minute. You had 2 guys at 25. One of them hasn't gone yet. Why isn't he the obvious choice at 32? It was interesting that 2 more names seemed to get into the cup. We don't get the names, of course. They didn't share that with us. But 2 more names joined into the conversation there when it got to 32. I found that interesting, too.
Yeah. It seemed like they were just choosing at, because you're right. Staios articulated as much. He said, once they realized there wasn't going to be a trade for 25, he said, okay, everybody, he's talking to the whole table of draft guys. And he said, so what are we doing here? We're taking Jaxon Cover first and then Lagerberg Hoen, or do we not think he's going to be there still at 32? So in Staios' mind, he was thinking Cover first. But just back to the drafts that were offered the Senators, think about that Vancouver deal. Like, I got thinking, Yeah, I mean, they obviously didn't have, they really liked the 25th pick. They felt like they weren't going to get their two guys, like Cover and Lagerberg Hoen, are the guys they, I think, wanted most at, where they were drafting. But just grab a pen and write down these numbers and ask yourself, which 3 draft picks would I rather have? The Sens inevitably went with the 25th overall selection, 32 and 72. And they could have had 32, 33, and 41. And that's I mean, it's not a huge difference, but man, that third pick is improved a lot, and you're only going back, what is that? The 8 picks. That must have been somewhat enticing, I think.
Yeah, and judging by the fact that JLH was still there, Culver was still there at 32. Could you have passed on JLH at 25 as well? Like if both those guys if you do this deal and both those guys are still available at 32, 33, then it's a really good idea. It's a really good trade to make because of the upgrade from 71 to 41 or whatever it is. That's huge. But I guess they must have figured that somebody else was going to swoop in and grab between Culver and JLH. Somebody was going to swoop in and grab at least one of them, if not both of them. So that's why they didn't want to make the deal, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Pittsburgh roster player got me wondering, okay, who would Pittsburgh be willing to give up? I'm sure some Erik Karlsson fans immediately started going, maybe. But I don't think, the 25th overall selection. Well, maybe it would. Maybe just getting rid of the contract. I mean, it's possible, I guess. But the name that I thought was the one that might be involved, because he has been mentioned with the Penguins as maybe a sell high candidate. They have a big player, like 6'5". He's like 6'5", 225, something like that. Big Ford, who had a real breakout year, 17 goals, 17 assists, and his name's Justin Brazeau. And he's been mentioned in trade talks for a lot of the offseason. A lot of Penguin fans believe that they may be willing to turn the page on him because they got a lot of young guys like Rutger McGroarty and younger guys that they want to kind of bring along. And this guy may be kind of blocking things. You've only got X amount of room. And I just thought that one might make sense. It wouldn't make sense alone, obviously. I mean, if you're talking alone, then we have to start talking about Ricard Raquel or a Brian Rust or something like that, guys who are capable of 60, 65 points. But if it's Brazeau and maybe another pick or moving up or whatever it is, then maybe. But I think that one's sensible because Dubas would know, okay, Tkachuk has just left the organization. The Sens may be looking for more physicality and size and a guy that, can chip in a little offensively as well. So that may be the Pittsburgh roster player, but we just do not know, and we will never know. Did you have any theories?
Oh, I'd heard rumblings about Brazeau, and of course you can read about everybody speculating on Karlsson. There's no way that's enough for Rust or Raquel. It would have required more, so it would have been a bigger deal than just the 25th pick for Brazeau. Just like you're speculating that the return had to be more than Brazeau, I'm saying the offer from the Sens had to be more than just the 25th pick if you were looking at any other higher up the roster type player. I don't know that it strikes me as strange when Pittsburgh is they're in the middle of a retool/rebuild low key because these guys are aging out, right? Between Sid and Malkin and Letang, they're all at the end. Malkin just re-signed. Sid's going to re-sign, but there's not much more years left with these guys. So it seems strange that they would give up a younger player who appears to be going in the right direction. So I would apply your usual thoughts on this one and say, well, why are they willing to give up on this guy? He had a decent season, as you read the stats there, and he's young and he's big and strong. And okay, why are they giving up on him? I'd be a little leery on that one.
All right, let's take a time out on the program. When we come back from hearing from our great partners, we will talk about who we think might surprise at training camp this year. That's coming up after these words. Hey, Sens Nation, big news if you're looking to get into a new vehicle. Right now at Keay Ford Lincoln, Ford employee pricing is back. The rules are simple. You pay what we pay. No negotiating, no hassle, just our bottom line employee price on a massive lineup of new Ford and Lincoln vehicles. Whether you need a tough truck or a luxury SUV, Jim Keay has you covered. But don't wait. Employee pricing strictly ends at the end of August. Visit Jim Keay Ford Lincoln today or check them out online at jimkford.com. And mark your calendar for Saturday, August 22nd, because Harding Your Home Comfort Center is hosting a car show you won't want to miss. From 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at 200 Nipissing Court in Canada, enjoy an incredible lineup of classic cars, live music from DJ Mark Tremblay, a delicious barbecue with burgers, hot dogs, and food samples, plus great prizes and a 50-50 draw. If you've got a classic ride, register your vehicle for free. The first 50 online registrations even get a special appreciation gift. Best of all, every dollar raised supports the Dave Smith Youth Treatment Center. Bring the whole family and join us for a great day of cars, community, and charity at the Harding Car Show, Saturday, August 22nd. For more details, go to teamhardingcomfort.com.
If you're planning a summer road trip, a trip to the cottage, maybe you're going to a summer hockey tournament, a soccer tournament, make sure you get into Midas first to grab yourself an oil change. And while you're there, it includes the complimentary closer look vehicle check. That team at Midas, they're going to check out the entire vehicle, head to toe, front to rear, visual inspection. They'll let you know anything that needs attention now and things that you might want to think about in the future. No pressure, just honest advice. Maybe you need brakes, maybe you need exhaust, suspension work, any replacement parts, anything at all. You're backed up by Midas's lifetime warranty for as long as you own your vehicle. View any Midas Ottawa at Bank Street, Bronson, Robertson Road, Orléans, Gatineau, or book your appointment anytime at Midas.com. Trusted car care to keep you on the road all summer long.
Welcome back to the program, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget to like and subscribe as we go along here. And we also have a Patreon situation going on. So if you want to help support the program that way, if you're kind of lurking in the weeds and would like to buy us a pint or a coffee, whatever it is, it's a way to do it. Patreon.com/SensNation. Now, yeah, I feel a little cheesy talking about that stuff. Anyway, it's the big foreheads.
Yeah.
Not me. It's not me. It's the big foreheads.
Okay.
Who could surprise at camp was what we're going to talk about here in this segment. And I've got one guy that stands out like a sore thumb. I'm interested to see if it's the same guy for you. But the aforementioned Carter Yakemchuk could be a guy that could surprise at camp as well. I think it'll only be a surprise to me, though, if it's to the negative. He could surprise at camp from the perspective of, because it wouldn't surprise me. Like I said off the top, it's not going to surprise me if Yakemchuk makes this team. But if he comes and he's maybe the foot speed's not quite there yet, not quite NHL level, or he has a couple of tough games where he gets burned wide, it's possible that he spends another year down in the minors and they do some other things for this year. So it would surprise me, though. That would be one thing that would surprise me in terms of the topic we're into right now, if Yakemchuk doesn't make this team. What about you?
Well, I think now that you brought up Yakemchuk, it would surprise me to a certain amount if he moved right up the roster, like if he went from the third right D to first, if he's playing in the top pair, like if he's playing with anybody other than what you would consider to be a 5 or 6 defenseman, that would surprise me to a certain extent. Mm-hmm. I think the other people that could surprise, I think Fabian Zetterlund for sure is probably number one on my list. I think Fabian Zetterlund could be comfortable here playing with his old buddy Eck, and he may just jump right up and have a serious good training camp and surprise. I think Stephen Halliday's in a position where he could surprise. I think Shane Pinto could surprise, depending on what happens with Cousins and the 2 center role. There's a couple of candidates out there, I think. You must have other people besides Yakemchuk in your mind.
Yeah, I'm going down to the American Hockey League, to be honest. And I think that one guy that's compelling for me is Kasper Halttunen. The former London Knight won 2 Memorial Cups, or at least 2 titles. For sure, the Memorial Cup in 2025. I don't know if they won the year before that as well, but they were OHL champs at least. And he was the Wayne Gretzky winner for the OHL MVP award last year with 15 goals in 17 games. Then this past season in the American Hockey League, it was pretty good. I mean, you were kind of hoping that he'd have more than he actually had. He came in, let me see here. There's some sort of funky icon happening right over my stats here. There we go. 16 goals and 35 points in 69 games. So that, for a first-year pro, let me get your perspective on that. How difficult is the transition from the OHL to the AHL for some of these guys in that you're not out there dominating some 17 and 18-year-olds the way he was able to in his last couple of years. Now he's playing against all men. A lot of guys have been pros. A lot of guys have been in the NHL. What's that transition like for you from going from junior to the AHL?
Well, a lot of the transfer has nothing to do with on the ice. It has to do with your lifestyle and where you live and how you live and time management and what you do during the day. And like it's now your full-time job. Although at the end of a junior career, your last year OHL or CHL at whatever level is almost like a job. But now it's a full-time job. That's an adjustment no matter who you are.
Right.
There's adjustments off the ice as far as where you're living and eating and where you go for food and where you go, how do you do laundry? There's all kinds of silly little things that are adjustments for a first year pro. And then on the ice, it's probably not that much, Steve. The step up, it would just be more consistency, right? The lower half of a roster in the American League is far more skilled than the lower half of a roster in Major Junior, so that the skill level would be more consistent across the board. The expectations placed upon you would be different. Your work ethic needs to be solid. So I think there's a little bit of an adjustment there as far as who I'm playing with and what I'm expected to do. But to me, the bigger adjustment is all away from the rink stuff when you turn pro.
I think in all likelihood, Halttunen is going to play again in the American Hockey League to start the year. There's just too many NHL forwards that are already kind of slotted in right now. So he'd really have to dazzle at training camp for that to change. So I think he'll start the year in the American Hockey League. And man, Belleville is going to be a very good team, which is why, again, we're vowing to go down to actually watch a game this year. There's a lot of improvement that's happened this year in that roster, and Halttunen will be part of that, and I expect him to take a big jump in that area. But there's in terms of the discussion we're having, guys who might surprise, not necessarily to make the team, but he could show up in preseason and make some serious noise. I read a long scouting report on Halttunen, and certainly everybody likes his size. People like the fact that he goes to the right areas. He's just got a wicked shot and scores most of his goals that way. So wicked on the power play. But the fact is his first step isn't that great. And it kind of had me thinking in terms of early days Arthur Kaliev. Can he make that jump to the NHL if, he's here because of that shot, but he's got more size. He's not afraid to forecheck. He protects the puck very, very well to create offensive chances. He sometimes go to the shot more than he probably, when he's opportunities to be set up man, but he's a very much a shoot first kind of a player. But, if it's a skating thing, it's hard not to start thinking about Arthur Kaliev comparisons, though we hope he's going to be more than that. But, that's what he's got to work on, that quick step, that first step. And if he can get there, and he's certainly, there was a mention of Kaliev as well. He's certainly faster than that guy. But I just found it to be a really compelling prospect that I'm looking forward to seeing at camp and seeing how he fares against his NHL peers.
Yeah. I think that discussing Halttunen or anyone, I think that if there's a hole here, we can all admit it. It's the muckraker, it's the dirty nose guy, all those things that Brady brought. The intangibles of Brady's game is a big hole in this lineup. Everybody talks about the goals, where are you going to get those goals from? And I think some of the players they brought in apparently are going to score those goals, in Eklund and whomever is going to make up some of the goal scoring. But where is the big, strong force guy coming from? Maybe that's where a surprise. I don't know who it'll be, but maybe that might be the surprise in training camp. That, oh, hey, look at this guy. This guy can play on our first or second line on a wing with two really skilled guys and produce. Maybe that's the surprise. Who's gonna end up playing in the Brady intangibles role?
Right. All right. Did you have anybody else that you thought in terms? Okay, I'll move on then. But there's a couple of names that might surprise. We'll certainly need to see some improvement from a number of Senators if this team is to take another step forward in the absence of Brady Tkachuk. You'll need to see some improvement from guys. And if you're looking at improved guys from last year, I found this to be a very interesting stat. and I'll tell you why in a moment. But the question I have for you is this. Who was the most improved Ottawa Senator last season in terms of points per game from the year before? Do you have any idea who that is?
Year over year points jump.
Points per game jump.
Points per game jump. Wow. Nick Cousins.
Nick Cousins.
Audio.
Nick Cousins is a fine guess, but not who we're looking for. So
who is it?
The reason I bring it up is, and it came to me when you were talking just now, and I would have segued magically. I probably would have won awards for it, but by segueing the way I wanted to, I would have given you the answer. The answer is, and it's interesting from the perspective of, I keep hearing over and over and again this summer about how Brady Tkachuk hasn't been, much of a player for the last couple of years. It's like I understand the venom, and it's deserved toward Brady Tkachuk, but we don't need to rewrite history. Your most improved player for the Ottawa Senators from the year before for the Sens last season was Brady Tkachuk. So we may want to calm down with the, yes, I understand the fury and it's deserved, but we don't need to invent things. Brady Tkachuk was still a very good player for the Ottawa Senators last season, particularly when he had to play with that hand brace for much of it, even after he got back from the injury. But, we're looking at Sens players who played at least 50 games in each of the last 2 years and comparing their year-over-year change in points per game. And the surprising winner is Brady Tkachuk. He goes from he had a 0.21 point improvement. Dylan Cousins is next at 0.15, Pinto at 0.11, and Tim Stützle at 0.07. So Brady Tkachuk had a 63-point pace in 24-25. He had an 81-point pace this past year. That would have been he had 59 points in the 60 games that he did play. So I guess my point is, I understand the need to be furious, but maybe simmer down and keep it real,
This just in, we may miss him.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. Yeah. It's all about trying to stay positive. And I look at the camera, Steve, and your job, Gregg, as my co-host, is to say every once in a while, just look at the camera, for goodness sakes. I'm all over the map, like I'm looking at mosquitoes or something. It's got to be a case of Brady Tkachuk is going to be an absence, but I do like the fact they have the depth they do, and that I don't think there's a single forward on this team that isn't capable of a 25-point season or more. And then you could go back 2-3 years where I'm thinking, is that guy going to get 10 points, let alone 25? So I think that Carolina Hurricanes-esque sort of style of building a team, I don't know if they'd necessarily wanted to do it this way, losing their captain, but I think there are some similarities that can be drawn.
For sure. It's so much more balanced than it's been in years. Like, you got to go back to when they were really good, that they had this much balance. And even then, fourth line back in the day versus fourth line today, within their stature within the rest of the league, I think that the Senators, from top to bottom, up front, the 12 forwards as a group, this may be the best they've had in 10 years. It's that strong from top to bottom.
All right, you had one other story or discussion point that I wanted to make sure we got in here before we start to land this plane. And I'm allowed to look away from the lens to check my notes, so you don't have to jump on me for that.
You do know that if I'm looking into the camera, I'm not looking down at you, so I can't tell if you're not looking, because I'm looking into the camera up here.
Right.
So I can't tell that. I'm sorry if I miss a couple.
We need to hire somebody. We need a third man in to be just sitting on this.
Yells in your ear.
Yeah, just sitting on our meeting, and we're doing this by Zoom today because our normal thing got all mucked up. But yeah, to have a guy, third man in, just sort of staring at us. Hey, your eyes went away. Okay, so our question is, for this final segment is, when will an Ottawa Senator win a major NHL award, and who will it most likely be, if it is at all? I'll start with you.
Well, I think, the obvious answer is it's going to be Jake Sanderson, and it's going to be a Norris. But you know what, Steve? He may go 5-6 years without a Norris. So it might be somebody else first. And if the team gets very good, continues to climb, then I think your next obvious answer is it's a Selke and it's Shane Pinto. So I think if I had to place money on it, I think I'd go with Pinto over Sanderson, regardless of that's not a slight against Sanderson. That's more looking at the field and who has a better shot. And I think the next answer, the next Senator to win an NHL award, I think is Shane Pinto and a Selke. What do you think?
Oof, that's tough. That's tough. Those are you've taken the two sort of low hanging fruit, but I think I'll go with I'll come up with two of my own. No, it's well, come on, you did.
All right,
you did.
Yeah, well, okay, but it's still the right answer.
I've done that to you before many times. So I'll go with I'm going to go Linus Ullmark because he's done it before, and so he can do it again. I could see. I don't know what the hell to expect from this guy. He could show up this year and be the worst goalie in hockey. He could be the best goalie in hockey. He's that kind of guy. And so I'll just, because we need an award winner here, I would say he's one of the most likely guys to win a major award. I would take Linus Ullmark for Vezina. And I'm not sure if it's qualifying as a major award, but Claude Giroux will get one of those old guy awards, I'm going to say, either a Masterton or a Messier, right? You know, you get old enough, you start, Giroux's one of those guys that has been a phenomenal player throughout his whole career. And I don't feel like he quite got the accolades because he was kind of among the elites, but kind of, not quite at the top, right? And I'm thinking he didn't get a lot of Team Canada love, I didn't think, beyond the World Championships. And he didn't get major awards and things like that. And all he's done is just been a solid
good soldier,
star in the league, better than a good soldier. Like, he's been a superstar in the league for a number of years. Yeah. I don't know that he's been that since he's been in Ottawa, but just the body of work. And as he walks toward the sunset now, he'd be my other option. Whether you say, Messier or Masterton are major awards or not, that would be the other guy that comes to mind.
Yeah, and then the other obvious one is it none of the current roster, and it's a Calder in the next couple of years, right? That's the other thing. Does Yakemchuk have an incredible season and win a Calder, or is it like a Jaxon Culver in 3 years from now?
Yeah,
is it JLH in a couple of years winning a Calder? So that's the only other real thing. Wait a minute, we didn't say Travis Green. That's always a possibility too, right? Travis Green's always a possibility. Even Steve Staios himself to win the Sam Pollock Award. There are candidates in every one of the major awards, I think, moving forward for the next 5 or 6 years here in the NHL.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like Calder from the perspective of JLH. I think he's going to be like Jelly or something like that. Something. But it's such a mouthful. It's such a Jonas Lagerberg Hoen. I love the idea of him. And that effect. You've done hockey pools before, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you do your hockey pool, and what makes you feel better than when you make your selection, the guy who's picking next goes, son of a, I wanted that guy. Well, it was a neat piece of video this week. Our friend Grant McCagg, who used to be an NHL scout, and he's now doing Montreal Canadiens content. And they were doing a live draft day stream. And when the Senators took Hoen, the reaction of Grant was fantastic. It left me with that same feeling of like, yeah. Because he was all about it for Montreal. What did they pick? I think they were like 2 or 3 picks away. And so he was thinking that the Canadiens would end up with him, and he was like, son of a. And so that made me feel good about the pick, just going back to JLH. But let's wrap things up today with this, unless you had anything else on that particular topic.
I'm good. I know we got places to go, people to see, things to do. Come on now.
Exactly.
I gotta fix my hair.
There you go. We do have we just did pass the 1-year anniversary of the Senators reaching a deal with the NCC to take 11 acres of land off their hands for a new arena at Le Breton. Cyril Leader spoke this week, said the new rink is still 5 or 6 years away, and that's if they have all their ducks in a row tomorrow. So I'm not holding my breath for this new rink to be in place until well into the 2030s, to be honest.
Yeah, I will never see a game there, Steve.
Oh, because you don't want to, or you don't believe it's going to be a. Are you planning a?
I'll be dead. I'll be dead.
You're planning on dying soon. Well, that's no good. Don't do that. And in our last episode, just to close this out, maybe this would be like a weekly feature. I don't know, but I complained about the expression, especially because it's always attached to Brady Tkachuk. When anybody talks about Brady Tkachuk, at least in the good days, they would always go to this immediately. Oh, he's great. He's great. He's a kind of guy that drags his teammates into the fight. I dislike that so much. It's like as if there are NHL players going, I don't want to fight. And then Brady goes, hey, you're coming, and drags him into the fight. I don't care for it. And it's just become so cliche. Not a fan. The other one, and I'll give credit. Right. This one's been bugging me for a long time, and it was I saw it on social media. Colin Jost, better known as the worse half of the Scarlett Johansson. He's the SNL guy, Weekend Update. He had a great one that I've thought for a long time, and that is Brady Tkachuk being traded away this summer. Oh, I didn't have that on my bingo card. What the hell is that? Like, what is the bingo card? Doesn't have any predictions on it. You know, you're not like
some do.
Just a bunch of numbers and letters. What's the prediction?
Well, no, it's an icebreaker, Steve. Sometimes when you have a big group together for a meeting, as an icebreaker, you give out a bingo card with, visited Yosemite and been to Niagara Falls and has 3 kids, and you walk around the room and chat with everybody, and the first person to check everything off their bingo card wins a prize. It's used as an icebreaker, so it is an actual thing, a bingo card with things like that on it. But I agree with you. That one is overused. That one, and hey, it's been a minute.
Oh yeah.
I don't like that one either.
There's so much, and the people who just, they want to get. Somebody puts out a great tweet about something, and then just somebody will subtweet it with this, with an exclamation mark. Okay, are you saying you agree with it? Like what? This. All right. As if a short form of saying this I agree with. They just say this. Yeah. All right. This will do it for another episode of the Sens Nation podcast, brought to you by Keay Ford, our title sponsor, and by Midas Ottawa and Harding Your Home Comfort Center. As well, the Hockey News Ottawa, also a fine supporter of this program. We are the official podcast of the Hockey News Ottawa. We are now posting, if you lose track of things, of everything I'm talking about right now, you can just go to the Hockey News, thn.com/Ottawa. All our episodes are now going to be there under shows. Got a new menu set up there. It's all good. And again, thn.com/Ottawa. Yeah. And our website is sensnationhockey.com. Please like and subscribe. That's the dullest shirt you've ever worn. I'm the dull shirt guy. I got my Richmond Royals one. Anyway, but
just a plain red. Sorry.
It's just not like you. I don't care one way or the other.
I know.
All right. Well, enjoy your weekend, and we'll talk to you in our next episode.
Sure. See you, buddy. Have a good one, eh?